Hello everyone, it's David from Automotive Press. You know that I love trucks, especially full-size trucks. In fact, I owned the Toyota Tundra for a while and I sold that to buy a Lexus GX, but I still have a real love for big trucks because they're practical, useful, and maybe even fun to drive. And you know what? This thing sets the benchmark over and over again as the baddest and the highest performing truck in the market. The Ford Raptor R is not like any other truck out there, and even companies like Toyota doesn't even bother creating a truck to compete with this. Why? Well, because this is on the top of the mountain peak when it comes to providing the most amazing amount of performance for the money. Let's get right into the quality check as usual, and then go and take a look at the inside and drive this thing to see if it meets my expectations as an automotive engineer. Let's go. Welcome back. So we have the Ford Raptor R, which is perhaps best performing truck in the market, but it's also a lot of truck. It's big, it's got all things to do with heavy duty off-roading, and it's really quite fascinating. I love the color as well. But let's do the quality check because, as you know, that's important to me in terms of exterior panels, alignment, and also the paint check. So first we're going to check for weld quality in terms of panel fit and alignment. So let's do the hood check here. So it's actually pretty good here. It's about 3.5 millimeter here and about just under 4 millimeter on this side. But I did notice that the hood is a little bit out of alignment. You can tell right here. This is sticking out a bit compared to that one. So that is not quite acceptable to me, but you know what? Most truck owners probably don't really care. What about on this side? Well, actually the gap is a bit wider here, 4.5 millimeter here. And then about the same, maybe 4 millimeter on the top here. But the alignment is actually perfect. It's no problem in terms of manufacturing quality on this side, and the panel fit is excellent. Let's go back to this side here, check for alignment on the doors, and let's see how it is. It's 3.9 millimeter here, and actually really good in terms of the panel fit. And between the front door and the rear door, it's also about 3.5, so totally acceptable. And about 4 millimeter in the back, and pretty good fit as well. So overall, the panel fit alignment when you look from the side is actually quite good. The panels are well made, although there's a little bit of wave along the door handle here, which is sometimes a problem with large pieces of door, as you will find in this truck right here. So you do see a little bit of wave here, but you see that in the Tundra as well. So overall, I would say the quality is acceptable, maybe a little bit above average in the side panel here, and a little bit less than average over here. But to be honest with you, as you know, I have not been happy with the Toyota Tundra alignment based on my experience with the Tundra. So if you compare this one to the Tundra I owned, or even the Tundra I have been looking at recently, they're all about the same. So I can no longer claim that Toyota trucks are actually better made than, let's say, a Ford truck, because honestly, they're all about the same these days. Okay, so now I have the paint thickness gauge, and we're going to measure total amount of paint applied on top of the aluminum pieces here, because most of the panels for the Raptor are made from aluminum, except for the hood and the front fender, which are not metal at all. They are not aluminum, they are not steel, so I can't actually read the paint thickness. As you will see here, I can't read it because this only measures thickness of paint if it's aluminum or sheet metal or steel. So I can't tell you what the thickness of paint job, although I will repeat again to say how much I love this paint job in terms of the color, the composition, the pigmentation, all looks really good. I wish that Toyota would offer this paint job, which is a very trendy color these days, kind of bluish gray color on some of their models. But I can measure the paint thickness on other panels, including the front door here, which is 136 microns here. And let's check over here, 141. And then I think this is also aluminum here, 182. So it's definitely quite a bit thicker than, let's say, a Toyota trucks, because they're usually about 110 to 120 microns. This is slightly thicker, which is a good thing. Let's just double check one more time on this side to see if I see any difference. Maybe on the pillar here, as a final check, is 154. So overall, the paint thickness is maybe 10 to 15% more than average models out there, especially when compared to Toyota. So that's a good thing. The thicker the paint, generally speaking, the better in terms of engineering perspective, so that it doesn't flake or chip when something hit the truck in this case. And so definitely thicker paint is good. And as I mentioned, actually the paint quality is really, really good. There are a fair amount of orange peel all along here, but that's typically the case with most truck paint. They tend to have a little bit more of an orange peel effect, and actually most buyers like that because it gives a bit of a kind of a tough feel to the paint. And the clear coat is excellent, and overall, even on this composite material, no issue in terms of paint matching, so that's really good. There is a little bit of not sure if this is a damage here or if something hit it, because the actual panel is flat, but there is a little bit of wave here. So maybe it's not perfect, but that might not be a manufacturer's defect. It could be something that was done after the fact. So I love the paint job. Panel quality alignment is pretty good. Now let's go and take a quick look inside and we go for a drive. So now I'm inside the Raptor R, and this is where I'm going to be a bit more critical, because I actually love the design and the engineers did a great job of coming up with a good layout. That's obviously the strength of the whole F-150 series, because everything is easy to reach, and thankfully everything is still a physical buttons and switches. We got everything from the temperature control to the volume control. It's all within pretty good reach, and the infotainment system is big and also actually quite fast and responsive. I like the digital instrumentation and cluster, which is really big and easy to figure out. And even the steering wheel on this Raptor R has a nice bump at the right spot on the steering, really thick steering rim, and even the stitching is done well in terms of manufacturing quality. So all of the practical things are well engineered, but where I'm going to be a little bit more critical is the choice of materials, because things look a little bit cheap, especially for a vehicle costing this much. So we get a nice kind of a design here, but this shiny plastic looks a bit cheap. And if you look carefully, these plastic here has some gaps, and also the actual texture has a bit of a shiny plastic, and honestly, it looks like something out of a $30,000 vehicle instead of a $150,000 vehicle. And even the carbon fiber look print here looks a little bit fakey in some way. I think it is a print instead of a real carbon fiber. And just the choice again of the materials. It's shiny here all the way, but it's kind of a semi-gloss plastic here, which looks fine, and all semi-gloss here, but this area looks a little bit cheap as well. The stitching and everything looks really good. The seats are very comfortable, and overall functionality is excellent as always in F-Series. Just the selection of materials and the way they put together could be improved. Again, at this price point, I would have expected something with the higher quality materials. But like all F-150s, you got some cool stuff like ability to fold down the shifter here, so I can open this whole thing for a nice big working table. And even though this table looks slippery, it's actually anti-slip. It's got a kind of a rubber feel to it. But if I was an engineer, I would have built a little lip along here so that it won't fall off. If you were to just push it, I don't know, a coffee cup or something wouldn't fall off the table here. So those are some of the comments I have inside. Lots of room in the front, plenty of room in the back. Really nice tailgate design as well. There's lots of functionality built in. And even the stereo sounds really, really good. So that's my quick conclusion on the interior. Now let's go for a drive and let me tell you how much I love the way this thing drives on the road. So now I'm driving the Ford Raptor R, and what can I say? With up to 700 horsepower, this thing is a monster. 5.2 liter supercharged V8 engine, and it has just a tremendous power and torque and propels forward like no other truck in the world. And I suppose that's the beauty and also the excitement to do with this vehicle, because you are getting experience of a sports car in a truck body. This thing is absolutely phenomenal in terms of its ability to pull forward and give you the rush feel that nothing else can give you. And if you love trucks, or you just love something big, like maybe you always dreamed about buying a monster truck, well, this is as close as you're going to get to that one. And you know what? Company like Toyota will never produce a vehicle like this, because one, is too much of a niche vehicle, and two, they're just not in the performance mindset that maybe Ford is. So if you can afford to buy this truck, which is almost $150,000 Canadian as it is equipped this way, Well, you're going to have, I guess, a lifetime of a very enjoyable experience, because what I'm really impressed with isn't so much about the horsepower or torque, but actually the feel on the road. So for example, the steering and the handling is surprisingly agile for such a large truck. So when I move left and right like this quickly, as you can tell, my body is moving, but the steering input and the response is very quick. It's not a sports car by any means, but compared to other trucks that I've driven, and I've driven pretty well all full-size trucks, this one has the most precise and accurate steering that is often lacking in many full-size trucks. Also, the feedback from the road in terms of steering to my hand is also really good, because I can actually feel the road, I can sense where the truck is headed, and I can feel exactly what's going on underneath the truck, which isn't the case for Ram, and not the case with the Tundra, and obviously none of them really can compete with Ford Raptor R anyway in terms of performance. But this one has the steering feel and the steering capability and handling to go along with this crazy engine that is propelling this big truck. And also the ride is surprisingly comfortable, even though it's a high performance model, because it's got high performance off-road shocks, and so it can really take rough road. It can actually go on a true off-roading, and even perhaps driving on a desert. It should handle just as well, because of all the capability of off-road tires, as well as the off-road suspension that's being calibrated for this particular model. You do feel a little bit of the bumps as you go along on the road here, but you know what, it's actually extremely comfortable, and other than the engine noise, it's very quiet. Well, actually not so much the engine, but the exhaust sound is quite loud, and when you start up, oh my goodness, it's got a pretty loud sound, and so it can surprise the neighbors probably. But I suppose if you're paying this kind of money, you want to let everyone know that you are driving something very special. So it has an awesome engine with a very smooth power delivery, with a tremendous acceleration, but also linked to a very comfortable and capable suspension, as well as agile steering. So overall, this is definitely the best high performance truck you can buy for the money. So as a conclusion, what can I say about a $150,000 truck that has a 5.2 liter V8 engine with a 700 horsepower and is capable of conquering almost any kind of terrain? Well, I'm almost speechless describing it, because it has a tremendous engine, it has a very capable suspension, it has a beautiful ride, even a good handling, and all of the high-tech features and safety features you ever want. So you know what, if you have to buy one truck for the rest of your life and you want to survive every possible condition, this is it. And if you don't mind paying so much money for a pickup truck, then you're not going to ever be disappointed, because this thing offers something very special that perhaps no other vehicle can offer. And yes, it is very expensive, so you do have to think about whether it makes sense to pay so much for a truck when you can perhaps buy a Porsche 911 Turbo for the same price. But you know what, the type of people who buy these vehicles probably already own a Porsche 911 Turbo, and this is their fourth or fifth car, so it might not matter, because it's not obviously geared for average people like ourselves, who probably wouldn't ever spend that kind of money on a truck. So for those very special people who can justify the cost of this, and maybe even have this as a third or fourth car, well, this is probably the most fun to drive vehicle you can buy, simply because it's an awesome truck, and I just love it because I love full-size trucks. What do you guys think of this monster truck? And what do you think of the fact that perhaps no one else is offering anything like this? Do you think that other brands, whether it's Ram or Toyota or General Motors, should offer something like this? Perhaps in the future, maybe even Toyota will offer something with a little bit more higher performance, but I don't think they will ever get to this level of performance. I'm really curious to know what you think of this vehicle and of my review, and so let me know in the comments below what you like or don't like about Ford F-150 Raptor R. For now, I'm going to sign off, but looking forward to hearing from you, and I can't wait to share with you more information about other vehicles in the market. Until next video, I'm signing off for now. Thank you so much.